Have you ever found yourself, just wrestling with those really big life questions?
Absolutely. We all do, I think.
Like, when is the perfect time to start something important? Or who are the really crucial people you should be listening to?
And maybe who to avoid, too. That's key.
Exactly. And, with everything pulling at you, what's the one task that truly needs your focus right now?
It's a constant balancing act, isn't it? Whether you're getting ready for a big meeting or trying to learn something new.
Or, honestly, just trying to live a good life day to day.
Right.
And think about those specific situations. Like, imagine volunteering with street kids. What are the vital questions then?
Or being a student rep on a panel about education's future. What do you ask those experts?
Yeah. Or you finally get to the microphone after your favorite athlete speaks. What's that one burning question you've got?
And what's so interesting, I think, is that even though those examples are unique, that underlying search for guidance, for clarity, that's universal. It's just human.
Okay, so that brings us to today's deep dive.
Indeed. We're looking at excerpts from Leo Tolstoy's short story, 3 Questions.
Which is really profound, isn't it?
It really is. It's presented almost like a shortcut, a way to figure out how to live life in the best possible way.
So our mission today is to unpack this story.
Yeah, to dig into it and pull out those timeless nuggets of wisdom that can actually help you navigate your own complex moments.
All right, let's dive in. The story starts with a king.
A certain king, yeah.
And he's completely convinced that if he just knew 3 specific things, he'd basically never fail at anything.
High stakes he set for himself.
Totally.
Yeah.
So, number 1, what's the right time to begin everything?
The perfect timing. Always elusive.
Number 2, who are the right people to listen to? And just as importantly, who should he avoid?
Ah, the classic advisor dilemma. Who do you trust?
And number 3, what is the single most important thing to do? The top priority.
The ultimate focus question.
And he was so set on getting these answers that he proclaimed this huge reward across his entire kingdom for anyone who could teach him.
Which really makes you think, doesn't it? About our own lives.
How so?
Well, think how often you look for similar guarantees. Trying to perfectly time a project launch or figuring out who your key allies are.
Or just staring at your to-do list wondering what really matters most today.
Exactly. The king's problem, just on a, royal scale, feels very much like our everyday struggle for clarity.
So you can imagine, learned men started showing up at the palace.
All hoping for that big reward, I bet.
Absolutely. But here's where it gets really interesting and maybe familiar.
Where?
They all gave him completely different answers. Just a flood of conflicting advice.
Ah, the expert problem. Happens all the time.
Right. So for the first question, about the time.
Yes.
Some were like, you need a super strict schedule, days, months, years, all planned out, live by the timetable.
Very rigid. Almost impossible, you'd think.
Others argued, no way one person can know the right time for everything. You need a council of wise men to decide.
Okay, collective wisdom. Makes sense, too.
Then for the second question, the people.
Who to listen to?
Equally all over the place. Some said his counselors were most important, others said priests.
Yep.
Some pointed to doctors calling them mentors, actually. And still others insisted, no, it's the soldiers you need most.
Wow. So political advisors, spiritual guides, health experts, military, covering all bases, but no consensus.
None at all. And finally, the third question, the most important thing to do.
The core occupation.
Some championed science, others skill in warfare. And some said, nope, it's religious worship.
Science, war, religion. Again, completely different paths suggested.
Exactly.
If we step back and look at the bigger picture here, this perfectly illustrates the challenge of information overload.
It really does. We deal with that constantly now.
The king got tons of advice, but because it was all so different, so contradictory...
He couldn't agree with any of it.
Precisely. He agreed with none of them and gave the reward to absolutely no one.
So he's back to square one.
And it just shows, doesn't it, that more information doesn't automatically mean more clarity. Sometimes it just creates paralysis.
Right. So still determined, but maybe a bit fed up with the so-called experts. The king decides to try someone different, a hermit.
Ah, the sage in the woods archetype.
Exactly. Someone known far and wide for his wisdom, but who lived really simply and only saw common folk. No royalty, no elites.
Interesting. So the king has to change his approach.
He does, and this part is really significant, I think. He actually puts on simple, ordinary clothes.
No fancy robes?
Nope. Gets off his horse way before reaching the hermit's hut, leaves his bodyguards behind,
Wow.
and walks the rest of the way alone. He truly humbled himself to seek this knowledge.
That detail, the king shedding his royal status, that's huge.
Why do you think that's so important?
Well, it strongly suggests that real wisdom, genuine insight, maybe isn't found wrapped up in power or status. It implies you might need to step outside your usual world, your comfort zone. Approach learning with real humility. Like the act of seeking in the right way is part of finding the answer.
That makes sense. Okay, so the king arrives and finds the hermit.
And what's the hermit doing?
He's digging, just digging the ground in front of his little hut. And he's described as frail and weak, breathing heavily.
Hard labor, even for a wise man.
The hermit greets the king briefly, then just goes back to digging.
Doesn't stop.
Nope. So the king walks up and lays out his 3 questions again. How do I know the right time? Who are the most necessary people? What's the most important thing to do?
And the hermit's reaction?
He just listens, says absolutely nothing, and keeps digging.
Silence. Interesting tactic.
The king notices how tired the hermit is and offers to take the spade to help out for a bit.
Ah, the king gets involved.
Yeah, the hermit thanks him, hands over the spade, and sits down to rest.
So the king starts digging.
He digs 2 patches of ground, then stops and repeats his 3 questions.
Still hoping for a straight answer.
Still gets nothing from the hermit. The hermit just says something like, "Now you rest, let me work a bit."
But the king doesn't stop.
No, the king keeps digging. An hour goes by, then another. The sun starts to set.
Okay, this is dragging on. The king must be getting frustrated.
He is. Finally, he sticks the spade in the ground and says basically, "Look, I came seeking answers. If you can't give me any, just tell me and I'll go home."
The breaking point.
But just then, the hermit looks up and says, "Here comes someone running."
Ah, a sudden interruption.
Yeah, a man with a beard comes running out of the woods. He's clutching his stomach, and there's blood flowing between his hands. He runs towards them, stumbles, and falls to the ground, fainting.
Wow, okay, trauma.
Instantly, the king and the hermit are focused on this man. They unfasten his clothing.
Right.
There's a large, deep wound in his stomach. The king immediately starts washing it, bandaging it with his own handkerchief and the hermit's towel.
The king becomes a caregiver.
Right. The blood keeps flowing, so the king keeps washing and rebandaging the wound over and over.
A total focus on the immediate crisis.
Eventually, with the hermit's help, they manage to carry the wounded man into the hut and lay him on the hermit's bed. The man closes his eyes, quiet now.
What a shift. The king came for abstract answers.
And now he's dealing with a life or death situation, totally hands-on.
That contrast is really stark, isn't it? The physical exhaustion from digging, now this urgent need, it pulls him completely out of his head, away from those big questions.
Absolutely. And the king himself, remember, he'd been digging for hours. He's exhausted.
Right.
So he just crouches down by the doorway of the hut and falls fast asleep. Sleeps right through the short summer night.
Understandable after that day.
When he wakes up in the morning, the sun's already shining, and the first thing he sees is the bearded man from the bed, awake and staring intently right at him.
Oh. Okay, what happens next?
The bearded man looks at the king and says, in this really weak voice, "Forgive me."
Forgive me. Why?
The king is confused, right? He says, "I don't know you, and I have nothing to forgive you for."
Makes sense.
But then, this is where it gets really wild. The plot twist.
Uh-huh. Lay it on me.
The bearded man explains who he is. He says, "You don't know me, but I know you.
Okay.
I am that enemy of yours who swore to revenge himself on you because you executed his brother and seized his property."
Whoa. An enemy.
Yes. He knew the king had gone alone to see the hermit. His plan was to wait until the king was on his way back.
And kill him.
And kill him. But the king didn't return when expected because he stayed digging.
Ah, so the digging inadvertently saved him initially.
Exactly. So the man came out of his ambush to find the king.
And ran into the bodyguards.
Precisely. The king's bodyguards recognized him, attacked him, and wounded him.
The wound of the king just spent hours tending.
The very same wound. The man says, "I escaped from them, but I would have bled to death if you hadn't dressed my wound."
Unbelievable irony.
Totally. He finishes with, "I wish to kill you, and you have saved my life."
Wow. Just wow. That connection, thinking bigger picture again, it's incredibly powerful.
Isn't it?
The king's action, simple, spontaneous compassion, not part of any grand plan.
Nothing to do with his questions.
Nothing at all. But that single act directly saves his own life from this hidden enemy.
Yeah.
And more than that, it transforms the enemy.
Into an ally, yeah.
It just hammers home how our present actions, especially acts of kindness, can have these huge, unforeseen consequences that ripple outwards, far more impactful than any abstract strategy sometimes.
The king must have been stunned.
You'd imagine so.
Well, the text says he was very glad to have made peace with an enemy so easily, and to have gained him as a friend.
A good outcome from a near disaster.
He doesn't just forgive the man, he promises to send his own physician and servants to look after him, and even restore his property.
A complete turnaround. Reconciliation.
So, after the wounded man is taken care of, the king goes outside to find the hermit before he leaves.
One last try for those answers.
One last try. He finds the hermit outside, sowing seeds in the little beds that the king had dug the day before.
Poetic. Closing the loop on the digging.
The king walks up and says, essentially, "For the last time, wise man, I'm begging you, please answer my questions."
And the hermit. Does he finally explain?
He looks up at the king, who's standing there expectantly, and just says, "But you have already been answered."
Ah, there it is.
"But how?"
The king is totally confused, naturally.
Answered. "What do you mean?" he asks.
This is it, isn't it? The moment the wisdom clicks.
Exactly.
It's the aha moment. And the hermit's genius here is showing that the answers weren't going to be some complex set of rules he'd just tell the king.
Right.
The answers were revealed through the experience the king just lived through. It's wisdom distilled from action, not just words.
So how does the hermit break it down?
He connects it directly back to what happened. First, the most important time.
Yes.
Now.
Exactly. The hermit points out, if the king hadn't pitied his weakness yesterday, hadn't stayed to dig those beds,
he would have left earlier, and the bearded man would have attacked him on the road. So the most important time then was when he was digging, because that act, in that moment, changed everything.
Okay, that makes sense.
Then afterwards, when the wounded man ran up to them.
The most important time became tending to him.
Precisely. Because if the king hadn't bound up his wounds right then, the man would have died without ever making peace with him.
So the crucial time shifted based on the immediate need.
Yes. Which leads to the conclusion. There is only one time that is truly important, and that time is now, the present moment.
Why now?
Because, as the hermit says, it's the only time when we have any real power. Power to act, power to influence, power to choose.
Okay, wow. So, time now. What about the second question? The most necessary person.
Same logic applied to people. When the king was digging the beds,
the hermit was the most important person.
Yes, because he was the person the king was interacting with right then. Later, when the king was tending to the wounded man,
he became the most important person.
Exactly. So the conclusion, the most necessary person is simply he with whom you are right now, in this moment.
Why that person specifically?
Because, the hermit explains, nobody knows for sure if they'll ever have dealings with anyone else in the future. The only person you know you are interacting with is the one right in front of you. That interaction holds all the potential.
That's quite profound. Okay, one left. The most important affair or thing to do.
It follows directly. What was the most important thing for the king to do when he was with the hermit?
To do him good by digging the beds.
Right. And when he was with the wounded man.
To do him good by tending his wounds.
Exactly. So the most important affair, the most important business in life is to do that person good.
To do good for the person you are with right now.
Yes. And Tolstoy, through the hermit, adds a powerful reason. Because for that purpose alone, we were sent into this life.
Wow. So the answers are now, the person you are with, and doing that person good.
Simple, yet incredibly deep when you unpack them through the story.
It really reframes everything. And just a quick note on the author, Leo Tolstoy.
Of course, the literary giant.
Known for massive epics like War and Peace, Anna Karenina. But this comes from a later period in his life, right?
Yes, when he became very interested in faith, morality, and simpler forms of storytelling. He was apparently fascinated by the directness and innocence of how children told stories.
And that influence shows here, doesn't it? This feels like a fable, but with such powerful adult implications.
Absolutely. It has that clear, fable-like structure, but the message resonates deeply at any age.
So, thinking about these answers now, the person you are with doing good.
They are, as you said, profoundly simple, almost deceptively simple.
Yeah, you almost expect something more complicated from a wise hermit.
Right. But their power lies in that simplicity. They shift our focus entirely, away from agonizing over the past or future, away from complex strategies, and towards embracing this moment, towards seeing and valuing the person who is actually here with you. and towards choosing, actively choosing, to act with kindness and help in that interaction.
So this whole deep dive, it really boils down to that, doesn't it? The keys to living well aren't some hidden secret formula.
Seems not. Tolstoy suggests they're right here, right now.
Residing in the now with the person you are with, and in the simple, powerful act of doing good.
It's a really compelling call for a more mindful, more present, and frankly more compassionate way of living, moment by moment.
It definitely gives you a lot to think about. So as you go about your day after listening, maybe consider this. In the next hour, just the next 60 minutes, what single now moment will you choose to recognize as the most important?
And how we use that power, that awareness of now.
To do good for the person who happens to be right there with you.